Let's
I
go.
was trying to figure out the exact reason why we decided to go live, and I was like, I think the number one reason is we're sick of having to start over for whatever reason, that we have to start over. I'm not going to say it's normally your fault, but maybe the past couple times. So
yeah, no, definitely hand up. It's been on me. But you know what? Now we're back and ready to roll. So we got a lot to talk about. A little roller coaster in Baltimore sports recently.
I was going to say, right, it's like perspective is the whole point. So we're going to do the show on Fridays, mainly because it's a full-time gig for you to do content. It's really not for me. Trying to still figure out exactly what we're doing. Jeremy and I with our business and figuring out on the content front, but this is full-time for you. So I think the Friday shows are going to be a perfect opportunity for us to reflect and figure out, what are some cool topics, what happened the past week. And this week was more things that we can even I don't even really honestly know where to start. It's so much. So can I start with exactly what's on my mind, because I think it's a little different than what's on. All right. So make the trade for Corbin Burns last night, and about 10, 15 minutes worth of getting the analysis from it and seeing, just everything, swings and misses, past 5 years, projected, the whole 9 yards. And I go through it and I'm like, okay, I have to stop. It's February. What are we at? February 1st, February 2nd. I need to take a break, need to time out. And then I was like, you know what? I finally get why it's so much fun to just be a sports fan, because of the optimism, right? And we finally feel with the ownership. So I just went back to the ownership, and I honestly spent, I think, 3 hours researching Rubenstein, just going through every single thing, his story, because to me, I don't know, the whole point of life is to do what you want. And it feels like that's what he's accomplished. He's doing exactly what he wants. Now we get what we want. So that was my main takeaway, was I'm so inspired, not necessarily by the Orioles, but by him. I want to do exactly what I want every day, and I want to own the Orioles. He can do no wrong. It's now just, can we actually win the World Series, right?
Yeah, and I think you put it perfectly. I think I even tweeted about last night, one of my favorite parts about being a fan is, especially in those big moments like yesterday, is just the blind optimism that the team will never hurt you again. It's that we'll never lose another game now that we have Corbin Burns. This is going to be incredible. We're going 162-0. We're winning the next 10 World Series. And it really is. That's what makes being a fan so fun, is you can just have that blind optimism in these moments, despite the fact that 3 days ago, Baltimore sports fans were at their lowest. So,
well, that's kind of I want to get right into that first, because I want to do a lot of the Orioles stuff, but I got to get it off my chest. I know you've already talked about it, but to me, it's the last day I want to get it off, and I want to get some of your thoughts on it. But I am the opposite. First of all, I'm a coach. I think it says on the shirt, right? So the last thing I want to do is fire a coach. But I also recognize that the whole point of professional sports is entertainment. And this is my takeaway. We can talk about the game. We can get into that in a few minutes. But my main takeaway is you have to move on from the head coach, because next year won't be fun until literally 12 months from now. Because of the way the season ended, it's not fun. And I hate saying that, but when you start to say things out loud oh, well, it doesn't matter what we do in the regular season, and we've done this before, you got to give me as a fan, as a viewer, got to give me something to be entertained about. And I just think it's the perfect time to say goodbye. I think it was the perfect, whether it was McDonald, whether it's Orr, I just think it was the right time to say goodbye. It's hard to do that. And it's not an argument on a reflection of him as a head coach. It's a reflection of, this just doesn't feel fun going into next year. And part of this is just supposed to have fun. That's why the last owner, nobody liked him. There was just no argument to like him, because he forgot that owning a team is supposed to be fun, and you're getting rid of the broadcaster. You're getting rid of, you don't want all these old Orioles around. It's that's not fun. What this guy's doing is
the definition of fun.
Sorry, I'm rambling here, but I love Harbaugh. I love Billick, but I also feel it is time to say goodbye. I know the counter argument is every 12 years, and this kind of feels like the same thing. But feel free to disagree. I just what are your thoughts?
I do agree in the fact that next year is not going to be the same as this year at all, in the fact that is no matter how well the Ravens do in the regular season, if they go 15-2, if they go 17-0, fans won't care. It really is all comes down to how can this team perform in the playoffs. And I personally, I thought if there was, like you said, if there was ever a time to do it, it was now. If there was ever a time you had Mike McDonald in-house, you could have made a promotion. I think that would have been the time to do it. Now, I'm not sure. I think if the Ravens don't make it to the Super Bowl next year, I find it very hard to believe Harbaugh will be back. But I do think that they are giving him one last go at it. Losing in the AFC Championship to Patrick Mahomes is obviously that's going to happen. That's going to happen. It just sucks to know that everyone and their mother knew the Ravens were the better team by far.
It's the way it happened. I mean, it's just there's something about, I know we have a little bit of an age difference here, but there's something about being a Ravens fan meant that you were always the bully. I just remember being, younger, and if you would shit talk with your other friends about like how the Ravens suck, the Ravens this, and even though I was never a part of the Ravens, even though I'm not like grew up fighting people, I always felt like my trump card is, well, we'll beat you up. Like at least just know that we'll kick your ass if we have to. And I have to sit there and watch my kicker talk. I'm so frustrated. I don't care. Like that just bothers me. Just does. I don't care what the semantics are. I don't care what the story is. But like, if you're gonna start a fight, like I want to actually start a fight. Like let's start a fight. Let's not poke the bear. That didn't make any sense to me. And then I didn't like the fact that we had a celebration planned in that game. You want to celebrate during like that?
Yeah.
I'm big into that kind of energy and saying, hey, the bully doesn't celebrate. Like I don't remember reflecting on Ravens teams and feeling like during the week, we need to, no, it's just like, can we score a touchdown? Like, let's just get in the end zone. So there's just a few things about the team where at this point, I guess the best comparison I can come up with is, what happened with Andy Reid in Philadelphia, where the message would go great if Harbaugh wants to do it again for another 5-10 years, one more time with guys that have never heard the message. But I mean, I have enough self-awareness to know that, as a coach, like sometimes guys are tuning you out. You can see it in real time. And at this point, he's reading scripture after like, what the fuck are we doing? Excuse me. I'm so angry about what happened during the game that I don't know if you really want to talk about, the specifics of it, but I'd rather just have a solution. And the solution felt like new energy.
Especially with how the game plan was. I mean, it was just completely everything crazy about the game, especially offensively, was just it was disgusting. I mean, running the ball 6 times with your running backs, especially with how effective it was, how that was your bread and butter all year. And even in the game, Gus Edwards' first rush for 15 yards, Lamar Jackson on 4th and 1 gets another 20 yards. The run was working and they abandoned it. And I think they were too concerned about ending narratives than they were about just getting to the Super Bowl. And it makes no sense to me because at the end of the day, if you're holding the Lombardi, no one cares about if you threw the ball to get that or if you ran the ball to get that.
Right. There's always moments where the other team takes away what you want to do, and then you have to say, well, we're just going to do it anyway. To be clear, like the Chiefs did that in the second half. Like the Ravens did shut it down, but the Chiefs said, we're just going to keep running the ball. And if you stop it, you stop it. And I felt like the Ravens just it's panic. I think they looked at, if you really listen to,
they played like they were down 30 points when it was no more than a 10-point game at any point in the game.
And I tried to listen to the defense of it because my first instinct is when everybody's saying one thing, let me just see what the other side is. Like, what's the defense? And when you watch people that broke down the film and they're like, well, look at the fronts that the Chiefs are in. Yeah, but the Chiefs did the same thing against Buffalo. Like that was what they were trying. And so you just run it anyway. Like that's kind of, I don't know, want to simplify it or make it into baseball as we transition. But it's like, if you're a fastball pitcher and it's like, all right, well, I'm facing great fastball hitting lineup. It's like, all right, well, I'll throw my curveball. It's like, no, you just throw your fastball should be better than them hitting the ball.
Yeah.
And if it's not, we'll lose. But
I mean, the
didn't want to
Chiefs
lose like that.
Chiefs ran the ball 20 times for 60 yards, and it's like they're gonna go and stick to their game plan, and it's what the Ravens had to do because eventually, as the Chiefs said afterwards, they knew if they could just rattle the Ravens and
That's crazy to hear that, right?
make them want to throw and feel like they have to throw, that they could beat them. And the Ravens, even after going down 14-7, the Ravens, it suddenly was like, well, we're gonna have to throw and win in a shootout. And it was like, not with the defense you have. Like, you can play ball. That felt like the Ravens, if their target score was 24 points in that game, they probably win. But for some reason, they felt after Mahomes went down the field that first drive, they were like, we have to score 42 points to win this game. And they were like, we're not running the ball. We're throwing deep. We're just taking shots. And it was like, this is not us. This has never been us. This is not how we got here. And it was disgusting to watch in real time as they just completely abandoned what got them there.
Right, because the Chiefs' first two drives, to be clear, a lot of those plays were like a couple inches here, a couple inches there. Like, it would have been interesting to see if Mahomes, if he had to score in the second half, would have been able to. Because there's a lot of different ways to look at the Ravens shutting them out in the second half. The Chiefs, they would push back and say, well, when we had to get one first down, we got the first down. So, or actually, they got 2 first downs plus a couple of ridiculous penalties. But they didn't. Those first 2 drives, those Kelsey plays with Brandon. I mean, God bless Brandon. He's my favorite effing player too. He's right on Kelsey, and it's just play after play, but it's close. So in my head, I'm thinking kind of what you said to start off. Like, we're the better team. It's so hard for even Kelsey's touchdown against Hamilton. Perfect play. So if the Chiefs are going to be perfect for 4 quarters, great. But you only made them be perfect for 2 drives, and then you self-destructed. We were actually robbed of a lot of of an entertainment value. It just wasn't. It was so. And when the reason it's not just this game is it's Dobbins last year. It's the same thing where you're like, okay, so maybe we just need some fresh eyes. Like, maybe Harbaugh's so in the weeds of everything that he's done a great job, but it's not going to happen at this point, because if it was, they would have given it to McDonald. So. Today will be the only time we talk about it, and then I'll try to be optimistic. But because
I think Harbaugh has he and Eric DeCosta have their end of season presser at 11 today, so I'm sure that will be an absolute word salad. That means absolutely nothing for 40 minutes of Harbaugh saying, "Well, that's how the game went." And looking back at it, we really got away from, and it's just going to be the same Harbaugh quotes for 40 minutes that give us absolutely nothing.
So now that we have 2 teams to root for, like, I feel like everybody, I don't know, because mental health, it's now like you're supposed to be sensitive to mental health issues, right? So when the Ravens lose, the common thing you hear from people is like, well, football's not that important. There's more things that are important. And it's like, that's not really going to help you, because like, you're going to follow everything. Like, you can say that, but you can't turn it off. So you have to figure out a way to be positive. And the Ravens, we're going to have to figure that out, because I'm not sure. So we can just transition to the Orioles, because I really would like to be positive, because I think that's the whole point of being a sports fan. So I kind of gave you my spiel about the ownership. You tweet so many different things out, but I think my favorite thing that you tweeted out, I don't know if you were a smart kid, I don't know if you're playing stupid, but you said something about what did Rubenstein say? Like, he said, follow my, you tell me, what was the tweet?
Yeah, he posted something that he gained a lot of followers on Twitter, and he was like, just to let everyone know, I tweet about and was naming all these different journals that he writes for and stuff. And he was like, all these analytics, and he was like, hope you guys don't mind. And I tweeted at, and I said I'd toss him a like, even if I didn't understand what he was tweeting about. So I knew I have to support him no matter what.
Well, give me an idea, because I want to get your Orioles take, but we did this a few weeks ago, I think, when we had the Ravens bye week. But I am curious, because what is the purpose? Like, you're doing the content. is this all the time though? Do you consume do you have any other interests? Is this just going to be Orioles, Ravens? What is
I mean, obviously, I follow like NBA. I watch that, especially now because I can't. If I have to watch football breakdowns right now, they just talk about the Ravens, and I can't. Like we said, mental health. I can't. I'm giving myself a little bit before I go break down that what really happened. But yeah, no, I'm full. Especially right now, the Orioles keep wanting to make things interesting like this, and this fun to cover. I'll talk about them all day, every day.
What about outside of sports? Is there anything that you do follow that interests you that you want to transition like content wise, like 5 years from now? Like, are you running for office somewhere? Like, what's the plan?
No, I will probably be still saying hopefully the same stupid takes into a microphone in 5 years. So yeah, no, right now just living the dream, just going out there. And it's fun. Yeah, we actually last night we ended our stream, and then like 3 minutes later we had Mina Kimes on yesterday, which was super cool. And then 3 minutes after we ended the stream, the Corbin Burns news broke. So we were like, we have to go live again.
Well, to
So
be honest with you, I was going to start with the Mina Kimes until the Corbin Burns, and then I felt like because that's why I wanted to set you up that way. Because if you're doing this full time, and like I don't have a social media presence like at all.
mhm.
Like I think my strategy was no social media when everybody had it, and then like that was kind of cool at
Yeah.
first to be like I'm not on Facebook, and then I think it got to a point where if you don't have a social media account, like you're probably a criminal or you have like something wrong is going.
Yeah,
So
legally you can't create one, people just assume.
right, so I'm like kind of stuck because I'm not really sure what to do. But if I created an actual Twitter account and I would do what you do because like once I'm very competitive, I would have to tweet out all the time and I have to stay up on it. I'm just not ready. I don't think that's really what I want to do. It's not my thing. But
Yeah,
anyway, I say all that to say that you're in it. Like now you're competing
yeah,
with all these different people, and I wanted to give you credit, and I wanted to, frankly, just get your reflection on it because I guess like you just shoot your shot all the time. Like as a
yeah,
dude, that's like basically what you do. As soon as you
yeah,
realize that the more shots you take with girls, the better chance you have. Like it's hard to realize that,
yeah.
but the quicker you realize it, better life is. And I guess now you're in the world of I got to tweet out famous people. I got to live out comments. I got to try to whatever happens happens. And
Yeah.
you do get me and times to respond. Like I know you don't make money off of it. I know it doesn't translate directly to like, but just walk me through how good of a feeling it is. How long
Oh,
you've been
it's
doing this, and is that the?
yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah, Mina Kimes, I would say, is definitely probably my biggest get so far. I'd say before that was Sean Merriman. Me and him, he's a good dude. I go back and forth with Sean a lot, and it really, the feeling, at least right now, it's the same. It's amazing. It's when you get such a high profile person, especially Amina Kimes on ESPN, to be like, yeah, I'll pop by and talk ball with you guys for a few minutes, and she was awesome. She
Yeah,
actually
she's
was
great.
extremely loose and was uh, very open about her feelings about the Seahawks and the Ravens and stuff. So that was really cool. And yeah, so for me, I guess I technically went fully into media about a year ago now, and it's taken off, and it's just keeps growing. But it is funny. I definitely do get my competitive kick from social media, which people are like, "How do you get a competitive kick from social media?" And it's like when something like Corbin Burns is announced, like I
Yeah.
gotta be the first to react. I gotta be, and it does. As someone who grew up playing sports, and that's what my new competitive kick is. I'm a competitive social media guy.
And it sounds funny, but honestly, if you think about it, as a dude, you have to be competitive with something.
Yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
if this is what you enjoy doing, it's
Hmm.
just a new way of doing things. Like that's why I'm getting
Yeah.
adjusted and saying, let's just do Friday mornings because if not, yeah, that you're either all in or you're not. I feel like people
Yeah.
that pretend what you just said, you might get made fun of. People might
Yeah.
think that that's corny, but if
Yeah.
you
Oh yeah.
pretended like you weren't trying your hardest and you're trying to just be cool on social media, like that just doesn't work. you got to try your best. And
Yeah,
so
like for a while I thought it was stuff like, yeah, if I just keep tweeting, like, they're gonna find me, they're gonna do all this. And it's like that's not like if I did not reach out to Mina, she was not coming to me and being like, hey, saw your tweets. Did you want me to come talk about Mike McDonald on the show with you? It's you have to be out there, you have to go for it. Like you said, you have to be all in and comfortable enough to publicly because it's a lot of these people you can't direct message them, and you got to be okay with putting out
right.
there, hey, would you like to call on? And I've had a lot of times where I got no response, and
And then how do you walk the line of admitting like you're not a scout, you're not an aspiring GM, you're not watching all 22 of all these teams. So you had this opinion, you have a strong opinion, but you want to defer to the people that like can help educate you. So walk me through as you're posting content, where do you turn? Is there anybody in particular that you wanted to acknowledge that like helps you formulate your opinion? Like for the Corbin Burns, for example, where does Zach go to get his content?
Well, actually, I will say the big one I got my I guess analysis was as soon as it happened, I looked to my left with Ryan and I was like, okay, what are your thoughts on this? So that was probably the quickest analysis I got. But just for a lot of these guys, I love, especially on Twitter, guys like Pitching Ninja are always breaking down stuff, and there's so many just my my Twitter is a mess. I will say that. I follow so many different, not necessarily scouts, but just people that break down film for the baseball and football and stuff. And that's how I get a lot of my stuff. And I don't have time, to sit down like you said and break and watch every single game on the all 22 and break it down. So for a lot of it, I do rely on, especially when I get Amina Kimes on, is more directing her to give her opinions, her breakdowns, because obviously she knows a lot more about football than me.
I wasn't. Go ahead, finish.
And I think my favorite part about Mina is just she's so knowledgeable about the game and the way she breaks it down in such an understandable way, even if you don't truly get what she's talking about. I mean, if you've never really followed football that closely, you can listen to her and you understand what she's saying.
She's the perfect. So funny because like I have no desire to like get her on the show or anything. It's like I'm a big fan, and I'm not a fan of a lot of people with content, but the reason I'm a fan of hers is because she makes people that otherwise wouldn't feel comfortable talking about a topic now feel comfortable for the obvious reasons that we can see. And I think that's a huge, like when you're the first person, and I don't know if she actually is she's the first person I know, right? And I guess that's what matters. She's popular, she's easy to hear. And as soon as somebody says, well, she didn't play football, it's like, well, I guess Zach can't talk about football.
Yeah,
now we're all stuck, right?
Yeah,
so,
it's like, oh, I didn't go to the league either, so I guess I should probably go look for a different job. And that's the thing. It's, I love when people will be like, I don't know if Mina's, opinions, right on this. She never played the game and all this. It's like, dude, I can tell you the players respect her opinion a lot more than if you would walk in there and start talking about ball with them, because the way that she views the game from the ins and outs is just, it's different. I mean, it really is. She views it from a player's standpoint, from a coach's standpoint. And the way that she watches film is incredible.
And then I think from the entertainment aspect, and I agree with, I think it's the Levitard show where I probably don't like individually a lot of the different people if they had like their own podcast, but I like the idea that they just make sports entertaining. So that's where I think I first heard her break down football for a long period of time on a segment. And I was just like, they were just like spitballing her random questions that she didn't know were coming. And that's what won me over because, a lot of the guys on TV that basically cultivate the opinion or the narrative, they have a morning show, then they have a teleprompter. And so they have narratives for whatever reason. So I always like the off the cuff. And frankly, the reason I bring this up to tie it into my company is I tell people that are betting on sports that don't get your advice from like a handicapper. The same way, no disrespect to you, but if you want to understand the Corbin Burns, Zach's going to the people that do that for a living.
Yeah.
That's not Zach. Like if you really want to, if you really want to get into how does Corbin Burns like fit in at Camden Yards? How does his fastball? Does he usually throw it on his first pitch? Like you said, you turn to Ryan. You turn to somebody who, frankly, played at a high enough level, then follows it and says, "Hey, listen, I can tell you 10 different things right now off the top of my head that are valuable, that then you can cultivate an opinion, make memes about it, make jokes, but educate people in your own way." And in our sports betting world, we have these people that pretend that they've won, at such a high rate.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you would benefit so much more from getting your information from a Ryan Ripken about Corbin Burns, and then say, you know what, I actually am going to bet the over in his win total based on that analysis. And that's how you start to. Or you say to yourself, you know what, when Corbin Burns faces a dominant lefty lineup, as much as I love my Orioles, I might want to, and I'm just making these things up because I don't even know off the top of my head. But from a gambling perspective, that's the things we're always looking for. Like, how do I find an edge? And you're not finding an edge, frankly, from Joe Schmo, who, sorry, I'm just making sure I got everything going with the computer. That Joe Schmo over here, who's 25-5 in his last 30 and all that crap. So.
Yeah, the guy who's just, telling you that he got, word from this guy, who knows someone who's friends with Corbin Burns that says Corbin's got a sore elbow today. So he's, he's only pitching 4 innings, but the books have his line at over 6. And it really is. There's so many things. The way I like to say it is like, I go in and listen to all the content. I get, all the analytical stuff, and then it's my job to give it to other people in a lot easier way, to break down and giving the important stuff in a way that they, one, are entertained by, and two, understand. Because I'll even admit, so many, especially in baseball, with the analytics, the different statistics, the advanced analytics, because advanced analytics are different than analytics, they all just, there's so much to break down. There's so much confusing crap that honestly doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. So it's kind of my job to identify which stuff is actually useful, and then kind of weed it out for people and present it that way. But
That's such a great one.
Yeah, I'm not the expert, as I like to say. I was like, I'm just the guy who listens to the experts and then breaks it down even for the other people.
So when I first realized how complicated sports were on such a sophisticated level, that because I completely agree with you, is one of my best friends has a business, and his partner, make sure I get this right, has a biomechanic, like some sort of expert in that kind of stuff, right? So their company is employed by several baseball teams to analyze every swing and every pitch. So there's cameras in every stadium, single A, double A, triple A, all the way to the majors, that captures every pitch and every swing. So there's guys, he's not the only guy, right? Yeah. So there's this whole industry of people that watch every swing, every pitch, then analyze it, then send the reports not to Mike Elias, to somebody who can then break it down for Elias to understand. And so it's like, I want to talk to that guy. What's he do all day long? You know what I mean? Like, because it is so in depth, and to think that the Orioles have, now that we're smart and rich, like, I've never felt so attracted. Like, this is amazing. I don't even know what to say. Like, we have the smartest general manager with the most sophisticated scouting system. We're now rich. The guy's old, and all he wants to do is win a World Series. All respect to him, but like, he's in a swamp. I don't think he's. Did you notice, by the way, again, I spent 3 hours on this. Did you see how much money he's given away and what he gave it away to?
I didn't see who he gave it away to, but I did see something that he's given away a ridiculous amount of money.
Basically, the conclusion is, once you finish doing your research on this guy, the only conclusion you can come to Mr. Rubenstein is that the last thing left for him to accomplish is winning a World Series. Like, I think he's done anything and everything else he wants to. He's given away more money to more causes. There's something, I don't even want to get things wrong, and I was looking for it, but he's done so many different things. It's unbelievable. So yeah, this is great. We have but anyway, to get back to what you were saying, your job, you present it to people in a way that's entertaining to listen to.
Yeah.
And it makes it so let's get into it for a second. Because we're gonna have plenty of time to break down like who's gonna make the roster and all that jazz. But give me somewhat of a hot take, like where you're at with the current roster, if you think there's somebody else that needs to get out of the way so someone else can come in. Is there someone you don't love? What do you think?
I don't think the Orioles are done with splash moves, and it's weird to say, but as big of getting a Cy Young a candidate or a former Cy Young winner, top 5 pitcher in the league, you think that's your big splash, but the Orioles, they got rid of maybe half a problem. I mean, Joey Ortiz was definitely log jammed. You definitely DL Hall, was up in the air on, is he a reliever? Is he a starter? So you get rid of those two questions. But they didn't touch anything in the outfield. And that's where it's like there still is about 7 guys that deserve to be in Baltimore full time in the outfield, and there are 4 spots for that. And so now it's like, do we see, as hard it is, are they moving on from younger guys? Do they make a dent and trade, guys like a Santander, a Hayes? I think that's where there's still a move to be made, and I'm not sure if it's going to be for pitching. I would assume maybe for another bullpen arm, but I do think that we see maybe not as big of a splash as Corbin Burns, but I think there's still one significant trade that the Orioles are going to make just solely because they didn't touch anyone in their top 5 prospects, and I
But
mean
don't you
that's awesome and all, but I think now it's okay. We got to find room for these outfield prospects.
and I don't disagree with you. I thought
Yeah,
initially they were going to trade to get a starting pitcher. Like that was my prediction, is to trade one of
yeah,
the outfielders for it. But now I have a different. Now that they have the starting pitcher, I think what they do is they wait to see what they need at the trade deadline. Because
mhm,
now I think for the fans, again, this is
yeah,
entertainment. This is
mhm,
about being in a good mood. It would feel strange to me to go to opening day and not have Hayes, Mullins, and Santander as your outfielders. And you
yeah,
say to Kowser, let's see it for a couple more months. Like it might
mhm,
frustrate him, might not be exactly what he wants. If you're a huge Kowser fan and you want to make arguments that he belongs out there, you might be right. But I think they're going to look at the team and say, we won all these games. Those
mhm,
3 guys sell tickets. Everybody knows who they are.
yeah,
Kerstead, assuming that he has a good spring training, gets to make the roster, I believe. I think that's a
yeah,
given. But I think they look at Kowser and they look at they look at Mayo and they look at Norby and they say, well, we'll see. Maybe we do
yeah,
need. I mean, I'm not going to. We just have to say it because we're going to have an injury to one of our 10
yeah,
best players. Like that's just. I mean,
yeah,
unfortunately, that's what happens. So I
yeah,
think now at this point, Elias says, well, I'll either bring one of those guys up to fill the spot, or if God forbid, one of those 3 outfielders that we just mentioned.
yeah,
And I think it's probably more on the Mullins and Hayes front. I think Santander is, if anything, it's more like, do we want to re-sign him? But
yeah,
if Mullins or Hayes struggles out of the gate, is that a situation that they move one of those guys plus a lesser prospect for the hole that they need? That would be my
yeah.
thought process. What are your thoughts? What do you have to say to that?
Yeah, I think, it wouldn't shock me at all. I think they're going to be very active at this trade deadline, and it's like you said, there's so many people that they have at different positions, and so many log jams. Because yeah, you do have even in the infield, you still have a Connor Norby, a Kobe Mayo. You do now have Westberg, Urias. Like there are a lot of players, I guess, trying to fit into 2 positions, 3 positions. So it's a good problem to have. I mean, at
Great
the end of the
problem.
day, if if the Orioles, if you told me that we were going to look at the Orioles, 2 years ago, if you said we're looking at the Orioles saying we have too much talent, we got to get rid of some, I I would
Right.
be over the moon. I don't think we've ever had this issue in Baltimore, at least not the past 20
It's
some
going to be
years.
it'll be such a competitive spring training because, frankly, the philosophy as the GM and the coach or GM and the manager is to say, well, you guys figure it out. Like, I don't have to, we don't, fans, we can talk about it. But if I was leading that room, that first meeting in spring training there's only a couple positions here that are safe. I think everybody knows who they are. They've already been here. But from everybody, from the top prospect all the way down. And when you have that kind of atmosphere, and I don't know, I've already looked at the entire schedule. I feel like we're going to be at least 19-2 to start off. But that's probably because your optimism is wearing off. But I'm serious. We have really soft schedules.
Yeah.
Like Angels, Royals, Pirates.
Yeah, the first
Royals
month
again.
First month is definitely one where they're going to want to get ahead of schedule and kind of get an early cushion in the AL.
So yeah, I feel great about it. What's the game plan for you now? Like, what do you do? Like, do you consume yourself with Orioles? Do you break down the Ravens draft? Because to be honest with you, I don't.
Unfortunately, unfortunately, I was gonna wait until after the Super Bowl, but I'll probably have to distract myself next week as well. So, I'll be knee deep in draft stuff soon, and I'll be obviously following the Orioles. Will be heading down to spring training, and then
you're going down to spring training.
Yeah, I'll be heading down there to do some stuff. So I'm excited for that. I haven't been in like 3 years, so like you said, it's gonna be a very competitive spring training. And for a good reason this time, because usually it's competitive for the Orioles, but it's because it's a bunch of guys who are still trying to make it for the last time in their career. And they're like, this is the only team that has spots open to do it. So it's good to have star caliber players or potential star caliber players battling for spots and not, oh, well, these three guys have been in double and triple A most of their careers, but we'll figure out if one of them can help us that we picked up, off the streets. So I'm glad at least it's a competitive in a good way and good players competitive.
I was gonna say there's a whole like episode to do on like prospects 15 through 30 because I'm familiar with the top prospects, but then the farm system's still deep. They still have a lot of guys. They have a lot of international guys that they're ready to develop that I think are just like 18, 19, like just a couple of really young guys. So a lot of exciting things. What's the feeling on football? Can you watch the Super Bowl? Do you want to talk about it? Or
I've gone back and forth. I'm going to watch the Super Bowl. I'm going to say up until the Super Bowl that I'm not watching the Super Bowl, but like obviously I'm going to watch the Super Bowl. It just is going to be painful to sit there and think that should be us. And but yeah, as much as I say, and I'll continue to say it, I'll be like, no, not watching the Super Bowl. Not this year, not after what we saw. And now it's then I will. After that, as soon as it starts, I'll just be sitting down, turning it on.
Well, I'm new to YouTube, but it looks like there's somebody asked a question that I have no idea what the answer is. Can you please provide any comment?
Unfortunately, I'm not a soccer guy, but yeah, that football is not in my expertise. I like, baseball and if one of my old roommates was in here, they followed it way too much. I actually wish I knew. So
it's funny because that's why I'm like excited to do the show only once a week because I really feel like there's so much content, so much to try to figure out on what to discuss. So what we'll do is we'll have a couple topics each week. My main goal, and whoever wants to join can join. I hope we get as many people as possible. But I know a lot of people will listen to it, at their convenience. But my goal is to try to cover the topics that don't typically get covered. I want to go deeper into certain things. And what I wanted to finish off with today that I didn't even tell you that, I started off with a couple different rants. And, a lot of people talk about, I mentioned it a couple, I don't know, maybe a few minutes ago about like mental health and digesting losses. But I wanted to go deeper into that and just, I don't know, offer this perspective on something. And then I wanted to get your thoughts on it. So being a Ravens fan to me is completely different than being an Orioles fan. And just want to get this out and tell me what you think. So being a Ravens fan is all financial to me in like lots of different ways. It's always been that way. I think maybe because when I first started loving football is when I first started playing fantasy football, started betting, and everything becomes transactional. And some of my best memories of my life is like the last run to the Super Bowl. But it's only because I bet on the games. And I can be honest, because I bet on the Broncos game and I bet on the Super Bowl, and I fell asleep during the AFC Championship in my apartment in California by myself watching the game. And when I say, like, once I came to grips with that, I started to understand myself a little bit more, because I was like, is something wrong with me? That doesn't feel the way some of my friends feel, or even some of my other family members. And I was like, well, that's like my experience with the Ravens. Can't help it. And so ever since, what was it? We lost to the Bills. What were we up?
2021.
No, not the playoff game. The regular season game a few years ago, when with Marcus Peters got upset at the end. Mm-hmm. So anyway, bet on the Ravens that game. Going into this season, I said I don't want to bet on the Ravens. I want to just try to enjoy it, because I keep getting certain games wrong, and that one sticks in my. So anyway, I didn't get my heart broken. Then I felt like something was wrong with me, because everybody else is crushed. And I mean, everybody, like, Ravens lost. This is horrible. And it didn't hurt me as much. And I was like, I didn't bet on it. Maybe if I bet on it would. And that's my experience with the Ravens. And then my experience with the Orioles is, and I guess it'll sound kind of funny since you work with them, but like my first memory is Cal Ripken. Like everyone, I feel like it's like Cal Ripken. That's who you want to be in life. I can remember my grandfather go to work every day, just do your job. So it's like, I love the Orioles. It's like a family thing. It's more of a nostalgia. So it's so much easier for me to just ignore the Ravens for 6 months. And I don't know, like, can you just tell me if I'm being a bad person, a bad fan? Does that mean, because I don't know what Ravens Twitter means, or Orioles Twitter, like, I don't, but I feel like I'm in violation of so many different things. And I don't know, I just had to confess it. That's just how I feel. But the Orioles to me is just different. And anyway.
Yeah, no, they're two completely different fandoms for me. I'm a lot more harsh as a Ravens fan, that's for sure. It's like the Gordon Ramsay meme. Like, if the Orioles do poorly, I'm like, it's okay. Like, it's okay. And if the Ravens do poorly, I'm like, you guys suck. I'm like, you guys are all horrible humans. You all are horrible at your day jobs. And it really is. It's one of those things where I think, and for me, it's because of success. I mean, the Orioles have never in my lifetime, besides spurts here and there, and obviously now, I'm used to, hey, if we win 70 games, like, pretty good year. Like, that was an upgrade. So coming from competing for championships every year, and the standard being we have to go win a championship, to then with the Orioles, and it's like, yeah, if we finish close to 500, we'll hang a banner. And it's like, for me, it's always been two completely different types of fandoms. And now it is weird having the Orioles' future be so bright. And it's like, we can go out and win, or expectations. I'm interested this year to see what it's like as my fandom, if I'm more harsh now that expectations are higher.
Well, I also feel like baseball is, I don't know, maybe the conversation sometimes around arguing with the refs and penalties, and whether or not you can hit people as hard as you want to hit them, became too much like some of the other crap of other news I consume. In baseball, I don't know, I just struggle. I feel like, I don't know how much we'll get into it as we move along this year, but this year you're not going to be able to run away from the political issues in our country. You're not going to be able to say that you're just not into politics. You can say that, but that's just a way of saying that you're too much of a pussy to say what you really want to say. Excuse my French. But it's just the truth. Everyone has to have an opinion, but then how can I say what I want to say? And then we just like move on, because you can say one thing, but we really don't have to talk about it for like 30 minutes. And baseball to me provides that opportunity for like us all to come together. There's no guilt watching baseball. And sometimes with football, it's just hard, because you have some people that the conversation just turns to, I wouldn't let my kid play. It's like, I don't want to have that conversation right this second.
Yeah. It's
and
just not worth it. It's always something, you see so many injuries and then people like the game's unsafe, what are we doing?
Right.
Or people think it's always rigged and no, the government's involved in this and this conspiracy. And it's
Can I
just
share one thing? All right. Now that
Yeah.
you said it, I got to share one thing with you. I don't even know. I was going to play it, but I figured if I tried to play it, I would mess up the whole live stream and it would go bad. So anyway, this is not meant to I don't even know what the product is, right? But I have a rule. If you are scaring the hell out of me about something, you also can't sell me a product, right? Like that's just my rule for political or any sort of commentary on what the hell's going on. So some dude pops on, says whatever he's saying. I go down the rabbit hole, right? So I'm one there, and one there, and one there. Rabbit hole leads to Alex Jones's Twitter. I'm like, all right, here we are. Minute 29 seconds. I forget what the exact tweet was, but it was like the fucking world's ending, right? Something that made me click the video. So he already won.
Yeah.
Click the video. First, I would say 90% of it is I'm borderline scared. I'm like, I might have to do some more research on what he's saying. Is this part true? What are we talking about?
Yeah.
Then the last 10 seconds is go to blah, blah, blah.com and buy this t-shirt. I'm like, oh, you just said the world was ending. Now I got to go buy the t-shirt. So as soon as you try to sell me something, I'm checked out. And it's just something with baseball that feels that was a pretty, I don't know if that analogy was great, but we're live and that's what happened. So I don't like being sold, I guess is my point. I want to be open-minded. I want to listen to people. I don't want to be sold on something.
I think baseball is just easygoing. Like you kind of said, like the NFL, like there's just so much behind it. And just also like you have to be paying attention at all times. Whereas baseball, it is kind of like more of a relaxing sport. You can kind of just sit there and like sit and enjoy it. Whereas like base or football, at all times they are like yelling about something. There's some controversy going on.
And then they have the Thursday. That's where I knew it was better in my head. I just stopped it short because then the football will sell me the Thursday night. And then it's like, that's where they lost me with player safety. It's like either let them kill each other or let's change.
You
I guess
can't
maybe
say we care about safety and then be like, but we should start the next week only 3 days after Sunday just ended. So it is. I get what you mean there. It is. They talk all about player safety, but then they're like, but we are trying to add more games and less days in between.
If I was not a Ravens fan, if I was unfortunately I don't know, some crappy team like the Cardinals or something, I think I just would have checked out of being a football fan. The Ravens that's the thing that, to finish this up and anything else on your mind, but I love the hardball era. This is the beginning of this wasn't meant to be a reflection on the entire era. It's just, I don't feel optimistic going into next year. I want to feel optimistic. Maybe that'll change. Maybe I was telling my brother yesterday, I was like, maybe we'll sign, 2 or 3 guys that have these great stories that have 1 year left. And that'll make me feel like, you know what, this will be our year. But, the Orioles give me so much, and there we go. It was amazing that didn't happen early.
Yeah, it always is at the you get a good run going and then the technology decides it has to humble you real quick.
I was gonna say just when we were getting ready to finish up, so that would be good. As I was finishing saying that it's incredible to be an Orioles fan. There's so many great things. We'll chat again next Friday. Think about exactly what topics we want to cover.
Maybe the Orioles do something else crazy. Who knows? They're kind of on a roll right now with just breaking the internet.
Yeah, we're going to stay away. Just whatever we talk about, it'll definitely not be a full breakdown of the Chiefs 49ers game.
Yeah.
Somebody can go do that. I don't have the energy for that. That's not exactly what I want to do.
That's for sure.
All right, man. Well, great talking to you. Appreciate anybody that listened. Any comments, I'll take them.
Yeah. Awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, no, we'll be back next Friday.
Sweet. All right, see you, Zach.
Awesome. See you.